I generally get hired when individuals or companies are wanting to improve sales, are wanting to improve business, or wanting to improve revenues. And generally in the discussion, things like we're looking to close more business, we're looking to increase turnover, we're looking to increase revenues, that kind of terminology would come up, but it's really code. People are asking actually for the silver bullet, the super secret sales technique, the hen's tooth, so to speak, of sales that is going to be a pitch that can close anything to anybody at any time, that's going to ensure that every single salesperson in their company is going to, at minimum, hit target on a regular basis. One of my favorite people on the planet, a very good friend of mine by the name of Venetia Butler, always used to say that the vast majority of people don't actually have a closing problem. They do have an opening problem. So I'm just going to say that again. The vast majority of people don't have a closing problem. They have an opening problem. And so what I really mean when I say that, what did Venetia mean when she said that? And what I would suggest is that, the people that I deal with are bright. They're generally very enthusiastic. They know their product very well. Most of them wake up in the morning and they really want to do well. No one wakes up in the morning and goes, I really hope that I just fail and suck at sales today. No one really does that. People genuinely want to hit their targets. They want to do well. And yet research suggests that among sales professionals, 60% never ever hit target. And that's some numbers that I've read on a couple of sites, but specifically spotio.com. 60% of sales professionals never hit their targets. So, one wonders what would happen if an accountant sent your tax return through and it was 60% right. What would happen if a doctor went in and removed 60% of someone's cancer, or if a football team lost 60% of its games? It would never ever stand a chance of winning the league. It's inconceivable to me that someone who's got a brain, who's got some passion, who has a reasonable product knowledge would be battling to close, unless Venetia is 100% right. People are seeking to close in situations that they've never properly opened. And so when we talk about opening versus closing, closing is getting someone across the line. Sir, ma'am, is there any reason why we can't do the paperwork? Are you agreed to this price? Are you agreed to the start date? Let's go for it. That's heading in for the close. The opening starts way before we're even in front of the client. It starts off even in our plan to start prospecting, and it is pulled through our prospecting. It is pulled through our qualifying process. It is pulled through our reaching out and our emails, or whatever methodology we're looking at connecting with our client. It pulls through the opening fact-finding meeting right through to proposal and then the close. And yet the vast number of people are just heading into meetings and they're just going to trust their amazing amateur comedy routine, or they're just going to wing it because somehow that's what salespeople do. Well, maybe it is. Professional people, however, don't. They close more business because they've accurately opened more business. Now, I'm just going to refer to my computer screen for a little bit here because I've got two lists that I want to share with you. And I just, there's a large number there and I haven't memorized it all. So I'm going to read it off the computer here. But this is when opening has not been done well. And there's 10 points here. Number one, we don't even have prospects on our list if we haven't been opening correctly. The more qualified prospects that I have on my list, the more time I can devote to opening. When I don't have enough qualified prospects, then I become so desperate to close a deal that my focus is on closing. And you know what? People can pick up that desperation, and clients hate to be sold. As Jeff Gitomer says, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold. People don't like the closing process. Number two, we never have enough sales meetings booked in our schedule. Our schedule should be booked up at least 2 weeks in advance with new business calls. And I'm going to say at a very bare minimum, 2 per day. If you're in the insurance sales industry or the cellular industry, communications industry, you're probably going to need to be speaking to 3 or 4 people a day. If you're in an industry that requires demos and massive, maybe IT solutions, or there's a very, very technical discussion that needs to take place, then maybe fewer. But folks, our schedules need to be booked up 2 weeks in advance, and it's a clear sign that we're not opening. When your sales funnel or your sales funnel of meetings is sparse, it means you're not 100% sure what you're looking for, and there's not really much opening going on. Number 3, our prospects that we end up seeing have not been properly qualified. Do they need our product? Can they afford our product? Are they a client that we even want on our books? Very honestly, folks, there's some clients I would rather dealt with other salespeople, because a problem client will steal your time, your energy, and your will to exist. And so part of the qualification process, do I want to work with this client? Part of the opening process. Number 4 is the prospect that we are talking to, the decision maker. It is crazy to me. There is no greater waste of time for a salesperson than to be sitting across from a prospect, telling them their story, and it turns out that prospector is not a decision maker. Number 5, do we follow a professional, structured sales process in our meetings to help us assess what the client's need is, or do we spend 45 minutes, talking some kind of banter under the guise of building rapport, and then 5 minutes of business quickly at the end? We're not opening anything then. We're being friendly, and that's great. But folks, friendly doesn't close deals. Professional does. Number 6, when we are dealing with a high number of objections, we need to know straight away we've not opened well. I would suggest that the number of objections you get is clearly proportional to the opening conversations that you've had. Number 7, if you haven't opened correctly, your negotiations are probably going to be reduced to a price or a discount discussion. And I'm going to go back to one of those earlier points. That's not really a client I want to be doing business with. The clients that get the biggest discounts are the ones that become the biggest pain in the butt. And so be careful about discounting, but it's a sure sign that you haven't opened correctly. Oh man, I'm a huge believer that referral business is the best business on the planet. But I guarantee you, if you haven't opened properly, your chances of getting referrals, minimum. In fact, it's pure luck. Number 9, if you haven't opened properly, you will be relying heavily on marketing collateral to try and get the message across. Folks, that is not sales. That is not sales. It's certainly not professional sales. And I'm not against marketing collateral. I am against using marketing collateral as somehow trying to close a client. Clients are doing business with you. Clients do business with people they like, love, and trust, not with a piece of paper that's got a glossy picture on it. Number 10, and this is an ongoing problem that I find in so many businesses, even with all the technology we've got right now, but we find it almost impossible to give an accurate assessment of our sales activity at the end of the week or at the end of the month. We haven't opened very well. We have no recollection of where we've gone with clients, and so we end up making up a whole bunch of information, which is a total waste of time for us, for our managers, and for our company. And so those are the 10 areas that are highlights of the fact that we're not opening well. If 1 or 2 of them have hurt a little bit, maybe now's the time for us to become more professional in our sales. Here's a couple of points around when we have opened well. When we've opened well, we can cherry pick from the best prospects on our list. We don't have to just take a meeting because it's a meeting. Because we've opened well, chances are that client is no longer a cold call. In fact, if you've done your opening well, the client could have been expecting your call and be a genuine white-hot lead. And I can teach you how to do that. Number two, there's tremendous confidence that we can take when our sales schedule is booked up 2 weeks in advance. Our feedback when it comes to meetings becomes way more profitable, and we're not just trying to keep our manager off our back. We're actually out there doing professional business. The manager will see it in the results, and our feedback will be a lot better. Number three, if we're opening correctly, we are going to be seeing prospects that are well qualified. There is a need. There is affordability. We want them on our books. They clearly know why we're coming to see them. They can definitely have a significant impact on the buying decision. They're one of the decision makers. Number four, when we've opened well, we can go into our sales meetings and those potential closing meetings with a strategy, with a plan. We can rehearse our plan, and we could have role-played any possible deviances or surprises. This is being professional. You're working with a game plan to get to a close, and you're ready for pretty much anything. There's no 100% fix. Yeah, I get it. But I'd far rather go in with a great plan than no plan at all. Number five, when we're opening correctly, we're trying to discover the client's needs from the client's perspective, not from our perspective or our bunch of assumptions that we've made heading into that. Number six, pitch and pray is not on our hit parade. Number seven, we have a goal and we have a plan to get referrals. It's part of the discussion. And I want to tell you folks, when you're opening correctly, you should be able to walk away from every single meeting with at least minimum 3 referrals. And I can teach you a steroid to turn those referrals into white hot calls where the client is actually waiting for you to phone. And then the final point that I wanted to make is that you are in a position to more accurately determine what your weekly and monthly activity report should look like, making your feedback to the company scientific and not just a couple of good ideas that you've suddenly sucked out of your thumb. As I said earlier on, folks, there is no 100% closing plan that I can give you or that anyone else can give you. But at least you've got a plan. At least you know where you are going to. Can you imagine a doctor going into a surgery without a plan? A lawyer planning your defense or saying he's going to give you a defense without a plan? A sports team that runs on the field without a plan. I mean, we think of all of those things and we go, of course not. Of course they've got a plan. And yet, as salespeople, we want to wing it. And we want to rely on luck or our personality if you think you've got one. Why not have a plan? And so, folks, I would love to give you the opportunity of checking out the 4 Pillars of Sales program that I've got, which will teach you about those plans. It'll teach you how to open professionally. It'll teach you how everything puts you in a position to have far more natural and less manipulative and heavy-handed closing. In fact, it'll be the total opposite. I'll give you a sales philosophy and where you'll get very, very practical sales tools on how to significantly boost your numbers and get not just hit your target, but hit your target out of the park. Because you will now be opening correctly, and opening correctly sets you up for massive professional sales success. Why don't you like this video, subscribe to the channel, go and check out 4pillarsofsales.com or bradthompsoncoaching.com and turn your sales career around today. You can do this. Go for it.